Jamie.
Well, Sean Ellis, who directed the film and wrote the film and shot the film and produced the film, has lived with the story for like 10 years, so he had amassed a huge amount of research, and so he shared that with us, me and Jamie, so we're kind of just piggybacked on that stuff, you know.
Do you remember having heard of Heydrich in school? Or?
No, we weren't taught that stuff. It was quite a specific, you know, incident in history that we weren't aware of. And I mean,
it's number 3 in the hierarchy.
I know that now.
You know, it's one of the lesser known, I feel, is one of the lesser known events within the Second World War. I didn't know anything about it, but there's still plenty out there. There's still plenty of information you can find, and you know, I think both Cillian and I had a good grip on who these guys were and why they found themselves in the position they did, and why they responded the way they were. They're very different characters, you know, and hopefully that comes across in the film. But I found it very relatable in terms of the vulnerability and the panic that would set in for a normal person put in such an abnormal situation. You know, I mean, there's nothing. And they're true heroes, but they're true heroes because they're just young men, and they've responded the way any of us would. I think there's nothing superhero about them, and that's why I think the story in itself is so relatable to people.
David and Goliath stories, that archetypal sort of, you know, the weak against the strong and the oppressed against the oppressor against the oppressed, and that's a very old model of, you know, drama and storytelling, so it's very appealing. But in this case, it actually happened, and it changed the course of the Second World War. So I think it's nice to kind of actually play archetypes, but you have to be brave with them, that you can sort of manipulate them a little bit. And we're not making a documentary here.
I'm playing a young and naive girl who is living through this resistance here in Prague. And she falls in love. She comes across this beautiful man, and she just deeply fall in love with him.
And how was shooting in Europe? You were on location?
Yeah, we were in Prague.
And how was that?
It's great. I mean, it's a beautiful city. And I didn't get to really visit the city as much as I wanted because we were shooting a lot of hours. But just to stay there, and because we had to do a Czech accent in the movie, to stay there to listen to the people, and each time I had the time, I was just, you know, taking huge walk in the city and getting inspired by this amazing architecture, and it wasn't touched. I mean, it's beautiful. It wasn't touched by the war at all, except the church.
And speak a little bit about what most surprised you about this story.
Surprised me. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty amazing story. Probably if I saw it and I didn't know that it was a true story, I wouldn't believe it.
And how was working with Jamie?
He's really nice, really ugly. He smells. You know, you don't want to work with that. It's not fun.
How about Sean? He's also a co-writer on the script, and he's the director. And speak about collaborating with him in both those capacities.
I mean, he's not just only that. He's operating the camera as well. He co-wrote it, mainly write it, I think, directing. So operating the camera, doing the lights on set as well. He did the making of the movie. He took picture outside. He took picture while we were shooting.
And I've been saying to my wife, like, fuck, you know, I'd love to work with this guy. And then, honestly, serendipitously, 3 weeks later, the script fell on my doorstep. It's a weird thing to say. It's not like a script actually falls on your doorstep. You know what I mean? My agent emailed me the script, and as soon as I knew it was Sean making it, it could have been about anything, and I would have wanted to do it because I was such a fan of Sean. So, yeah, that was foremost why I wanted to do it.
I like that rigor in a filmmaker. That's the sort of person I want to be involved with, you know. And I'm sort of a little bit wary of a director that sits 20 feet away behind a monitor and that you don't have any connection with. And Sean Ellis is right there shooting the film in front of you, and he's totally invested in the piece. And myself and Jamie and Sean, we became very, very close over the course of the filmmaking, and it really felt like we were striving to make the best piece of work possible, and we care deeply about it.
He's just like a robot.
He's very hands-on?
Yeah, he does everything. And I heard that for Metro Manila, he was taking the sound at the same time.
Wow.
So it's really impressive. But at the same time, it's really convenient because he's just there. And you work and it's like, okay, let's do it again. And okay, let's do it again. And he just gives you direction like that. So you can go really fast and you feel like you're creating something together, and it's really like a close relation. So it's cool.
His attention to detail is insane. I've never met or worked with anyone who is so driven and passionate about their project, who turns up every day knowing exactly what he wants to do. His meticulous planning of every shot, and he had like figurines of Cillian and I that for all the action sequences he had. I mean, I've worked with directors that don't even have fucking storyboards. Sean took it to a whole level where he had figurines of us doing each action. He'd lit them in a way that he wanted to light them on the day. I mean, it's just, the attention to detail is incredible. It's very rare, I think, in filmmakers these days. You know, certainly that I've worked, you know, I'd never experienced that before. I was like very taken by that.
Well, honestly, I did no research and no preparation because, well, it is like based on the real events, but there were just like common people like you and me, and I think they were just like brave, and they had their, you know, opinions, and they stood by the truth, and that's all they did. They decided to help, you know, to fight against the evil. So I didn't want to, you know, personalize anyone. It's just a brave girl. I tried to play a brave girl.
And how was collaborating with Sean, and what do you admire about him?
I admire everything about Sean because honestly, he's I don't know if you knew, he never studied to be a filmmaker. He just started as a little kid, you know, to helping with photographs. Then he was an assistant, and he started to shoot commercials, and he just teaches everything by himself. And then on this film, he wrote the script, he directed it, and he held the camera for all the time, so he was the DOP. And at the same time, he had a family on the set every lunch. So I think he's just like a crazy, amazing.
And what do you have coming up next?
Me? Well, I'm shooting a lot in Czech Republic. That's my place. And I will see.
Yeah, and it's a tricky one because it's actually quite soft. You know, it's not like hooky in a way where you can really like grab onto something. It is quite subtle for as European accents go. But we had a lot of Czech actors in the production with us and in scenes with us, and they're doing an English accent with Czech, you know, Czech accented English, so that was kind of helpful.
Can I ask you a question? In your own life now, your career has just gone through this. Like, how do you find, like, do you feel, I'm from Donegal, do you feel like sometimes you've been dropped behind enemy lines in your own life? Like, does that make sense? How do you keep your head?
A little bit, but you know, I feel above everything else, I feel so privileged to be working as an actor. You know, I've probably been an actor longer than people think, but not really working, and I just appreciate, you know, there's some awful statistic about actors that's only like 5% are ever employed at one time. You know, that's disgusting. Why would you want to work in that industry? So I just feel very lucky to be doing stuff, and at the moment doing stuff that I want to do and have an element of choice in my work, which, you know, I don't take for granted. I know that that's a very cool thing, but you just try to enjoy it, and you know.